This week's Parsha goes on to describe how the Nesiim, the princes, brought their karbanis to Hashem. In fact, the Torah goes and talks about every Nasi, every leader individually at length on when and where and what their karban was brought and associated with. Very interestingly, we find the karban of the Nasi of Ephraim, the leader of the tribe of Ephraim, bring his karban on Shabbos. And the Torah talks about Ephraim just like it talks about all the other Shvatim. But the problem with that is that the Torah seemingly overlooks a glaring issue when it comes to Ephraim's karban. Anyone who's learned a little bit of halacha, a little bit of Jewish law knows individual karbanis cannot be brought on Shabbos. Just like you can't drive a car on Shabbos, you can't turn on the light on Shabbos. You cannot bring an individual person's karban on Shabbos. So how on earth does the Torah seemingly document that the leader of a tribe, Ephraim, brought his karban on Shabbos? What's even more interesting is that there's a medrash that talks about how Yosef HaTzadik paid special care and special attention to keep Shabbos, even though before the giving of the Torah, there was no mitzvah to. And therefore his reward is, his child, Ephraim, will have his tribe bring their karban on Shabbos. What type of payment is that? Why on earth would the reward for Ephraim's ancestor Yosef keeping Shabbos be that they get to desecrate Shabbos? Yosef HaTzadik paid special care and attention to keep Shabbos. Why does Hashem now seemingly bless, which doesn't seem like much of a blessing, that his descendants have the right to desecrate Shabbos one time? Explains the Rebbe that you have to look at things from a completely different perspective. When Yosef HaTzadik was born, his mother Rachel Imenu named him Yosef, as the pasuk tells us, is based on the line that Rachel Imenu said when he was born, Yosef Hashem li ben acher. Seemingly it's quite odd for a mother to name her child Ad, Yosef, hoping that she can get another son. But the Rebbe explains that there's so much more to Rachel Imenu's line. What Rachel Imenu was saying was that Yosef, my son, is going to have the mission and the purpose to turn the other into a ben. May Yosef go out into the world and turn all the people that are others into brothers. Ironically, why was Ephraim, Yosef's son, named Ephraim? Yosef names his child Ephraim ki Ifrani Elikim be'eretz anyi, because Hashem made me fruitful in the land of my affliction, in the land of my suffering. Yosef was exiled for 22 years to Mitzrayim, but yet Hashem made him fruitful. That's what Ephraim was made for going into Mitzrayim and coming out fruitful. It's the very same message that Yosef was named by. So when Yosef kept Shabbos, the Rebbe explains that Yosef kept Shabbos at a much higher level than we did. A lot of our Shabbosim are refraining from work. Yosef tapped into something higher than that. That Shabbos is more than refraining from work. Shabbos is letting the Kedusha permeate our lives. And therefore, as a reward for what Yosef did, Hashem gave his future descendants the opportunity to do something that on an external face value level seems wrong, but on a higher level is bringing more Kedusha and holiness into the world. And therefore Ephraim was allowed to bring the karban on Shabbos. They got the one-time exception to go into the lowest levels and bring it out and to bring that karban on Shabbos. Because what it did was it tapped into the same level of Kedusha that Yosef did all those years ago. And explains the Rebbe, this is the mission of each and every one of us. Not that we get to break Shabbos, but that when we let our week become infused with Shabbos, the holiness of Shabbos goes into our day of Shabbos and ultimately into the entire week. We accomplish the very purpose that Yosef was put into this world, that Ephraim was put into this world, and that every single Jew was put into this world. To go out into the world, to turn the other into a brother, that in the land of our pain, in the land of our suffering, in the land of our affliction, and in the land of our oppression, come out with complete success and victory. Because it is that avodah, it is that outlook that will surely bring the coming of Mashiach. May he come speedily in our days. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbos.